if you've seen a doctor before, you probably have seen a doctor in a white coat. And so our movement was called White Coats for Black Lives, and it's currently a national organization of medical students that's still ongoing, and still, trying to impact change in policy, and just bring the racial awareness to our field of medicine, which is historically white, male doctors who maybe don't have a black person's interests, best interest in mind. Fingerprint reader isn't working. That's super convenient. Alright. The white coat symbolizes our collective end goal of becoming healers, advocates for basic human rights, and leaders who work to empower humankind. Perhaps most importantly, the white coat represents the Hippocratic Oath, a pledge we have all taken to first do no harm. We are gathered here today to call to your attention the systematic dehumanization and institutionalized racism which has broken through the mainstream media in recent days. So that was kind of the way that we started the 2014, I have a class of 125 students, 4 classes over the course of medical school, so if you do math, that's a lot of people. I don't do math, so I don't know how many people that actually is. And so because people are coming from different backgrounds, we didn't want people to be isolated, but we wanted to make sure that people would know why they were there, or what their purpose was in being there. So we consider ourselves to be for the people, and we are working to push beyond our medical school boundaries. You see that campus up there in La Jolla, on the hills, and can't wait till everything in La Jolla falls into the ocean. But unfortunately, a lot of my classmates and peers rarely leave La Jolla, and as much culture as La Jolla has, it's important to realize that there are non-white people in San Diego, and there are people in poverty in San Diego. Just we gotta be out here. We gotta be here representing ourselves, our profession in the community, and so that's why I'm here. That's why my classmates are here, and I hope that's okay with y'all. Yeah.
Fuck yeah.
All right. And then, so following the December 2014 White Coats for Black Lives die-in, a few of my classmates and I decided to create an organization within the School of Medicine. A student interest group is really what we call them. And sometimes, it's we have some a cappella groups. We have if you like cardiology, there's a group for you. And so we decided to go ahead and utilize that because we get a $400 budget for any club we make, and we made an organization called Medical Students for Justice. It was originally Medical Students for Social Justice, but then kind of developing this idea of there's more than just social justice, right? This concept of intersectional justice. We're looking at racial justice, gender justice, social, reproductive, all of these things. So it's just justice. And it's inclusive, and that's important to me. And so we do a lot of stuff within the medical school. It's whatever, but we're trying to work within our medical school to make sure that our classmates, that learning about disparities in health and real life stuff that non-privileged people encounter is not an option. So kind of working this what we call social determinants of health, so the things that contribute to people's ability to have good health and good health outcomes. Making that more widespread within our curriculum, because you can take classes, outside of whatever heart, lungs, pancreas stuff, but not everyone does, and a lot of people that really need that kind of formal education elect not to take these classes. So that's what we're working on. All right, and so, physicians and myself as a student, I don't really have a lot of power within the hospital systems, and that's unfortunate, but I know that in time, a matter of a few years, I will have that ability. But it's also important that I realize that as a medical student, I do have some kind of platform. I have an enormous platform, And my responsibility as a black queer woman is to represent my communities and advocate for them, even as a student, because the more practice I have right now, the better I'm going to be able to do that in the future. So, the culture of medicine is traditionally unforgiving. Even students, residents, and physicians gifted with emotional intelligence lose sight of their humanity. Healthcare providers have a responsibility to be advocates for patients. By integrating social justice education into medical education, physicians in training will have a greater awareness of social determinants of equity, health disparities, allostatic load, and the minority stress model, the diversity of barriers that patients face within the healthcare system and globally. So that's kind of, the way that I live my life, is I'm navigating through this just wild, absurdly medical bureaucracy. And it's kind of been the thing that's really motivated me, because, it's a cold world out there, but knowing that I can possibly do some good somewhere right now and then in the future is more heartening. And so every person, as they enter medical school and as they graduate medical school, takes something called the Hippocratic Oath, which in its shortest form is kind of always condensed to this idea of doing no harm. But one thing that, an excerpt from the Hippocratic Oath that I really like to remind my peers and classmates of is this line. It says, "I will maintain the honor and the noble traditions of the medical profession. I will not permit consideration of race, religion, nationality, ideology, or social standing to intervene between my duty and my patient. I will maintain the utmost respect for human life and its quality." And so, as healthcare providers, obviously, I know that I have a responsibility to do that, and it's a moral responsibility, but it's also like normal humanity stuff. And I think that the utmost respect for human life, that's really what brings me to these events, and realizing that I'm incredibly fortunate to be in a position where I can impact change, because I'm like, oh, I'm a doctor and people are going to listen to me. And I know that that's not true for everyone, so I want to make sure that I'm out here with y'all standing.
All right.
How about let's do a quick chant. Black lives, they matter here.
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 Thank you. So our next speaker is a professor at Point Loma Nazarene. I look up to him, wonderful man. Please give it up for Darwin Fishman.
Thank you, Heather, and thank you for setting up this space for us. And I want to thank everyone also for coming out. I don't have any prepared remarks. I just want to say just a few things real quickly. First, I really appreciate us also doing an event in support nationally for Tamir. I have friends, I'm just moved here 2 years ago, friends in DC, and I know that all up and down the Eastern Seaboard there's all kinds of actions that are taking place, and it's great to see here in San Diego that we can support Tamir. Yeah. And I think also I just want to say with his case that definitely as someone that grew up with me and my brother playing with toy guns, I didn't have the fear in the neighborhood I was born and raised in Northern California, Davis, California, that with that gun, having a toy gun, at some point the police would come and shoot me. And for that matter, that also, if that took place, that the police officer would not be indicted for killing me. And I think the thing with Tamir, and it's starting to see it now, the media, is a real discussion about the police. For example, which should be really obvious points. You don't have to be a police officer to figure this out. But why in the first place the police officers, when they had the report about this child in the park with the gun, why they decided to pull up literally within feet of him, really close. And I've heard them talk about normal protocol would have been to say pull up 1,000 feet away and actually view the situation and assess it. There's also really obvious points too about why they didn't know the community. Typically in a park, if you have someone that's by himself with the gun, it's more than likely that person's not a gang member, and they're certainly probably not going to be a threat to anyone if they're by themselves.
Right on.
It also, in raising these questions, I mean, also the obvious point about this too is that it's not surprising to find out that this police officer was not only fired from another department, but that his actual area of weakness, he had a meltdown on the shooting range. He wasn't even capable of using a firearm well. But I didn't have any problem with Cleveland hiring him. And I think part of the issue, of course, really is that these departments, like Cleveland, have a whole history of hiring really poor officers, not training them well, and letting them run on the streets and shoot people.
Right on.
Hopefully through our work, our organizing, us coming together like this, we can begin to have a dent on this and change the way that police practices are done nationally, as well as here in San Diego. And I just want to comment. I do want to say something about San Diego, and hopefully this will be reinforced by others. I was just confirming with Catherine before I came up that there was a shooting in Hillcrest, and it's supposed to be a domestic disturbance. I don't know a lot about it. The person was shot and killed. They're supposed to have had a knife. It's not going to be surprising, of course, for us that we're going to start having, or really continue to have, shootings here with the police, and I am really curious to see what we can do and how we respond as a community. And whether it's in Hillcrest or it's in Southeast, hopefully we can come together. And I already find that the initial reports, it sounds like, again, it's a pattern here in San Diego already, that when we've had these improvements with supposedly body cameras, that the body cameras are not turned on during these shootings.
Right on.
Which means that they're not even following their regulations, and then it opens up the question of whether or not it's being enforced. Are they being disciplined? So we had to be careful when we advocate for these changes, whether it's with the Citizen Review Board or it's with body cameras, that it actually makes a difference in the way that our communities are policed and what it actually means for what the police are doing. And I think that we can take that for granted at times and just assume that if we get some legislation and some changes that that's going to be it, our work's going to be done. So I want to thank Catherine for again gathering us. I hope we have more gatherings like this and we encourage more people to come out. One other thing I just want to say too, for us to think about this, as a professor teaching sociology and criminology, I had a student that works for the transit police that gave his presentation, his class presentation. It was entitled "The Myth of Racial Profiling." So again, I don't want us to take for granted in San Diego that we somehow think that we're immune or we're disconnected from the national trends and what's happening with the police. It really is quite often that blatant, and it's right there in front of us. And I hope that we really also take this time as organizing here in San Diego and take it seriously, especially those communities that are experiencing kind of police brutality and shootings, and that it's not where it's occurring there on a regular basis. It might not be getting the headlines that, say, for example, now the shooting in Hillcrest will get. And I hope we keep that in mind as we do our work, that there are communities and there's those of us that face these kind of issues on a regular basis. Whenever we're pulled over by the police, whenever we're being tagged by the police in our communities. So again, thank you. Thank you for coming out.
Right on.
Black lives, they matter here.
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 Thank you. So, a good friend of mine is in the audience. He's a fellow cop watcher here in City Heights. He started an organization known as the Movement Productions. I think this is going to be the first time of him being on the mic. Let's give it up for Edward Foreman.
Edward!
Woo!
What's a cop watcher?
Yeah.
Hold on. So a cop watcher, pretty much what we do is we go out and we make sure that either their body cams are on. We record every stop that they make. We've had a cop incident here at McDonald's right after Old 22 where their cams were not even on. Like, they had a child in the car, and we're just out there trying to make sure that everyone is safe, that they're doing their job and keeping us safe as well. The Movement Production San Diego was started as an organization, not just to cop watch, but to help our neighborhood. But he could explain more.
Practice said everything I was going to say.
What about your experience?
Use the mic, please. Yeah, I know my experience with the police out here. Well, it all started back in El Cajon when I was 13. Freaking, I got stopped. Somebody called the police because they said I had a knife. I don't know if y'all remember the shoes called Heelys. The little wrench that came with it to take out the wheels and stuff. They said I had a knife. So I got stopped. They put me in cuffs. I told them I was 13, that they couldn't touch me. Instead, they went in all the areas that they couldn't go. So the only reason my parents came out, because there was some neighbors that went and got them, but they went all in like that, but my parents didn't care about that. The cops, they did everything. They went as far as telling my school what I had. So my school got into it on that one. But out here, with the police out here, just because that we have the Black Lives, the United Against Police Terror banner in our window, every day we have cops in front of our window, getting out of their car, taking pictures. Hold that. Taking pictures of our window, just because we have that banner in our window, watching us to see who comes out of our door, just to see who lives there, and watching to see what goes on there. They stop. They're so stupid enough to park their car in front of our door and get out in uniform and just take pictures there in uniform and let us look, and we'll step out there and call them out on it, and they just jump back in their car and go. But it don't bother us. But we get stopped time to time, so that's why we started up that part, the cop watch unit, and we take out to the streets at night. We see them, when we see a stop with their lights on, stuff like that, we call them out on it. They walk up and they say, "Oh, can I help you?" Once we say we're cop watchers, they bug off, they go back doing what they're doing. But when we ask them with their body cam on, "Oh, don't you, it's just for show." That's the first thing they say. Their body cams are just for show. Now, what are their body cams supposed to be just for show? No. Now, the first thing I tell them, "What are you wearing that for?" First thing they say is just for show. I'm like, "No, you're supposed to be using that to record everything that goes on with you and your actions and the suspect's actions, so everything is recorded, so we know what happened, and there, so we will all know who's at fault on what happens." They don't care. There was an incident that happened over here with us once before, and I asked the cop, "Is your body cam on?" They're all like, "Oh, no, because it's just for show. We don't have to use it. We can use it if we want to." So when she got in the car and she asked the cop, "Is your body cam on?" "Oh, yeah, it is. Oh, it's running all times." So when we talked to each other, and she said what the cop said, and I'm all like, "No, he said it was just for show." And we're looking at each other like, "No, that's not what the cop said." And every time I run into a cop out here, there was just an incident right down the street about 2 weeks ago or something like that. A cop comes up, I'm all like, "I'm a cop watcher." He's all like, "Oh, can I help you?" Cop watching. So we just stood there. I'm recording everything, just recording. He's like, he stands there just trying to piss me off, just saying the same thing over. "Can I help you? Can I help you?" His partner comes up, "Can I help you?" I tell his partner, "Cop watching." He gets back in the car, and the other stupid cop is still standing there, just yelling at the top of his lungs, "Can I help you?" So I'm all like, okay. So his partner just tells him to get in the car. But then now the biggest question is, it's no longer, am I next? It's, when am I? Because as you see on the news every day, they're taking us down by numbers. We all have a number. We all have a target on our back. So now what we have to do is, it's our job to put a stop to this. They were just out here a while ago saying that they're going to bring peace to the street, that they're trying to bring peace to stop all this police brutality and stuff like that. How are you going to bring peace to the streets if you're out here still killing people? Every day you're out here shooting people for no reason, just because they're black, brown, mentally disabled, for absolutely no reason. That's not a way to bring peace to the streets. Just because you got a badge and a gun don't mean shit. If you want to bring peace to the streets, like you mofos standing over there, take your badge off, put your guns down, and actually do something to help the community. Besides just being stupid asses and freaking trying to take everybody down by numbers.
Woo!
You got anything you want to say?
Black Lives Matter!
Lives matter!
Black Lives Matter!
Black Lives matter!
Black Lives Matter!
Black Lives matter!
No justice!
No peace!
No justice! No peace!
One more thing to say is that if you see something, it's not illegal to record the police. A lot of times they're going to tell you to put that camera away. It's your given right to be able to record them. If they want to stop you, you have the right to question them. You know, if you see someone else getting harassed by police, record it. We're out here to police the police.
Record it, post it.
You know, like, help. What does it do? It creates accountability. If they come and say, like, for example, if someone was out there and they could have recorded that and they had been like, hey, well, we have over here witnesses that say that he wasn't armed, that he wasn't, like a harm to police. That's what we're here for. That's why you gotta record it. Because if the cop could say, oh, well, she was attacking me, there's a third party that has video that says, well, they were just, at a distance away from you. That's why we try to push it. Record every interaction with cops. Don't let them scare you down. Speak up against what's wrong. Because we all matter. We are all here for the same reason, for justice. We're here for justice for Tamir. We're here for justice for Fardoon. Tamir, we are all of them. Today it could be me, tomorrow it could be, her. Like he said, age, they don't respect age, they don't respect a mental illness, they don't respect anybody. Exactly. Have a nice evening and thank you.
Right on.
Black lives, they matter here.
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 All right, so someone has just joined us and they'd like to share their story. Earl, would you like to come up? How you doing, brother? Let's give him a round of applause.
Bravo.
Woo!
Good evening, everybody.
Good evening.
My name is Earl, and I want to first start off by getting a moment of silence for Tamir and his family. As well as my little brother who committed suicide in 2012, 25 years old. Okay, thank you. My name is Earl. I've been in this community like 16 years. Hard life, growing up, I seen the police, racial profiling, just because you was in a certain area, you was targeted, It's like, it's hard to explain if you haven't felt that, but at the end of the day, I feel everybody, I don't care what race you are, have felt that, some way, somewhere, some fashion, but the police, with me, is like, I've been beat, I've been tased, I've been shot at, I've been all that, I had a lawsuit against the Mid-City Police Department because one of them, who was so-called a gang profiler and all this, was crook. Stealing people prescription pills. You and your wife, and she's a veteran? Are you serious?
Right on.
Rolling up on my street every day. I'm taking care of my son, I'm trying to get my life together, I made mistakes, but we all do.
Right on.
Some are in the closet, some are out there, But at the end of the day, I look at it like this, Every life matters. And for you to be a police officer, I feel that you should have at least know how to, you know, when you look, okay, I'm gonna say this. I remember when I was a little kid, and I remember the police. We all probably remember this if it happened to you. But the police come to your school, the firefighters come to your school, and all that. You know what I mean? You respecting them, the dare, and all that. You respecting them. You know what I mean? Sometimes you want to be a police. You know what I mean? There's a lot of little boys out there who want to be a police officer. You know what I mean? I never told my son just because the things I did. You know what I mean? With the law, that don't mean you have to have a hate for them. You know what I mean? Because it's some good ones. You know what I mean? We ain't gonna sit here and just say it's all bad ones, but I want the bad ones to be found accountable. Because I see all these, it don't matter where you go. When you put on the news, you see a police shooting. A police shooting. You're supposed to be protect and serve. You should know how to defuse a certain situation. You know what I mean? I don't care what nobody say. I seen a news clip. A guy was shot from across the street, even though he did have a knife. Nobody in this mid area, you shot him more than 15 times. You know, and guaranteed, you know, the only thing that's gonna happen is they're gonna lose their job. You know what I mean? With pay. And then you criticize the victim because, oh, they made a couple mistakes in their life, whatever. That doesn't matter. That don't give you the right to kill somebody in cold blood and get away with it.
Right on.
You know what I mean? I feel like that every day. Like when I go outside, I'll be like, dang, you know what I mean? Are they gonna mess with me today? Oh, I better walk on eggshells. Why you stop me, sir? Oh, black, white walking. That's why. Yeah, when you go up on, I don't have anything with, you know what I mean? There's a lot of sick people out here, you know what I mean? That's what you need to be focused on, you know what I mean? For real, and they lurking in your community. You know? I'm for the children, I'm for the next generation, you know what I mean? And I feel like every police officer, I promise you this, every police officer that I heard of, even seen it or viewed on the news of a shooting, they get away with it. Always some kind of justification. You know what I mean? But I look at it like this, Mid-City, you know what I mean? I've been out here for a long time. It got better though. I'm not gonna sit here and lie, you know what I mean? It got better to a certain extent. But the police is like, to me, is a joke. You know? They're a joke to me.
Right on.
You know, and I'm just grateful to be out here tonight, you know. Tamir, you know, you're in my prayers. You know, I know you up there with God, you know, and save me a spot, you know. But at the end of the day, I just look at it like, you know, you gotta stand up. You don't say nothing, they're gonna just run over you. You know. And it was crazy because people was like, you should be a motivational speaker. You have a story. You should tell the story and help others. You know, and that's something that I'm focused on. You know, and I'm just grateful for everyone to you who came out here tonight to support this. You know, this is just the beginning. You know, it's gonna get bigger. You know, and you just gotta just keep your eye on the prize. You know, and you know, just do what you can as a citizen for your community. Thank you.
Right on.
Let's give it up for Earl. Let's give it up for all the speakers. Natural talent. So I would love to introduce the lovely Hope. And she's going to be sharing a few words. Let's give it up for her.
Yeah.
Thank you. That's actually my name. Well, it's my middle name. So we'll use that for 2016. We'll have hope in 2016 that we can do a little bit better. I just wanted to give a quick story. I moved downtown and I saw a black guy in his car downtown on 5th and Market near one of those clubs down there, right? And so it's a nice sunny day. He had on his tank top and his khaki shorts, and all of a sudden, the police cars just swarmed around him, you know?
So you wonder how that happened. Somebody probably called and said, black guy has a gun. And what do they do to check that, you know? As soon as they get that call, we're at a disadvantage because they're going to go right there with guns blazing. So he didn't really have a chance. And so, but I'm there, you know, and this is, so what can I do? Am I going to take out my phone and record, or am I going to use, I'm a teacher. I teach at Sarah High School, so I have high school students, so I'm not afraid to speak and say what needs to be said. Shout out to all the teachers and educators in the house. we know how to do this thing. So we use our voices. So I use my little voice, and as I saw them with their big old guns, I don't even know what they are. I'm starting to think I may need to get some gun lessons, you know, because
Right on.
for real. You come up on me, we might, anyway, okay.
Power to the people.
Seriously. But, so I said to them, and I yelled, you know, what happened? What did they say? He has a gun. And I yelled at them, I said, well, where's the gun? Where's the gun? Did you find the gun yet? And they're like, did you make the call? I said, no, I didn't make the call. Well, they said there was I said, what's going on? Well, he said he has a gun. What did you, and I kept yelling at them, and they had these big old guns. I said, tell me when you find the gun. And I'm going to stand here until you tell me when you find the gun in his car. Because he had, again, a tank top on and khakis. He wasn't, I could tell, you know. I could tell he didn't have a gun, but they clearly, they couldn't figure that out. So I stayed there, and I kept asking them the hard question of where is the motherfucking gun? And they didn't find it, but I think by just saying that with my teacher voice, little old me on the corner, you know, asking them that hard question of where's the gun. So I think we can do that too with our voices. So thank you all. Let's continue to be courageous with our words, with our Facebook friends, with our peers. It's nice to see you all. I feel like we're all a family, and we all have a dream that this might get better, but we have to be strong. So thank you all very much. Thank you.
Okay, so if there's, and again, I want to emphasize at this action that we really do want to raise and have this space for Black voices at the forefront. If there's anybody here that would like to share a few words.
So first I want to speak about what Black Lives mean to me personally. It might not mean that for some of you in the audience, but for me, if you've heard of that term that history repeats itself, my ancestors, they were hung, they were whipped. The only difference today is those with the black skin, they're being shot.
Right on.
It may not be, it's really hard to see this experience because I'll give you a little history. I'm biracial, I'm Black and Filipino. When people look at me, they're gonna see my skin color. I told my mom this. She didn't quite understand. I said, Mom, people of my skin color are being shot, and that really affects me. I'm very disappointed in the police system. I do not know who hires the police system, but that needs to be checked out. A lot of racism is going on in this world. I'm gonna share a little incident that I personally had a few years back. I was in Pacific Beach with a few of my friends. We come out of the bar. I had probably 3 police cars behind me, and the police officer came to the front of my car and told me that somebody witnessed that I put a gun in my trunk. And mind you, all of my friends are Black. Had each of them stand on the side while I witnessed them search my car. at the time, this was a couple of years back, I was shocked. I tried to file a complaint, and that didn't go anywhere. I mean, that's pretty much what I have to say at this moment in time. And to Hope, I appreciate your story, and I appreciate your middle name as it is, because we definitely need a lot of hope in this world, and I'm praying that things will change. Thank you.
I just want to say I grew up in Southeast East San Diego my entire life, pretty much. I moved out of state for a few years, and personally, I've always had an issue with the police. I grew up in a domestic violence household. I watched my mother get abused from 3 years old till about 16 years old, and just from that experience, despite, I know we're here for Black Lives Matter, but just from that experience, it made me have a negative outlook on the police, because I felt like they were, I was under the impression they were there to protect and serve, but as a child growing up in a domestic violence household, and you personally called them to help the situation, and they take 30 minutes, 40 minutes to get there, and it's around the corner, or they get there and they don't take the necessary actions, it makes you have some type of sickening feeling towards the police, the least to say. And so for this to continue for situations, that's just my childhood experience and how I view the police despite or before all of these situations happen. But from that situation, it just makes you get even more upset by the idea of, Black people being killed. I have a son who's actually will be 1 in 3 weeks. And so when I think about Black Lives Matter, I just think about the idea of literally, it's taken not to heart, but I really take to heart when they say like it could have been me or it could have been you. Like it literally could be me, it literally could be you, it literally could be your child. And at the end of the day, would you be out here protesting? Would you be making more of an effort to do things to change the circumstances if it was you?
Right on.
I wasn't trying to be rude to the couple earlier when I said, what does that mean by recording? That was a legitimate question for me, because I feel like a lot of these circumstances have been recorded, and what's happened. So what is the next step for me? That's where I'm at with it. I appreciate you recording. I actually like the cop watching idea. I would love to be a part of it, but I feel like there needs to be more, another step to this, even another step to us gathering. It's a beautiful thing that we're gathering for this young man's life, and that people across the country are gathering for different situations and circumstances. But what are we going to do after we gather? That's what I like what the professor said. What are we going to do after? What are we going to do to get together to actually make a difference? Go to these legislatives, go to different bills or whatever it takes. That's what needs to happen, basically, because it just, I'm sure everybody's just sick of it, the least to say. So I just want to say that, I just pray. That's all we can do. Have hope, like our best friend said, that things will get better. And thank you all for your time.
Next we have Jamila. She wants to say a few words.
Hi everybody. Speaking on the fly here. One thing to say, one thing to share. When it comes to, I'm glad that some of you brought up the body cameras, which, clearly camera work isn't really helping us all that it should be, unfortunately. But I went to watch a panel on should body cameras be used with the San Diego Police Department and how they should be used at, I think it's California Western Law School. And on that panel was Chief Zimmerman, Shelley Zimmerman of the San Diego Police Department, a DA, the head of the ACLU, head of the Sheriff's Department, and one other person. And I went just to watch. I did not intend to speak, kind of like today, but I got a little motivated and I got a little heated because I sat there for an hour and a half, almost 2 hours, and no one brought up systemic racism as a reason for these cameras to be on in the first place. No one brought it up. So lo and behold, I was supposed to observe, and I raised my hand and I directly asked Chief Zimmerman, how are you, or when are you going to bring systemic racism into this conversation? When are you going to do that? And she skated around it. And I brought it back to the point, rephrased the question, and there was another skate. So I got my answer. And apparently they're not thinking about that. So something that we can maybe think to do systemically is, how can we make them address it, make sure that it's not on just for show, and have it on, and then, you know, use it to help us not be killed. I wanted to share, I hope you don't mind, a really, really short spoken word poem. I actually wrote this, I think, in my fellow poet and teacher. I wrote this back in 2010 when some people at UCSD thought it was okay to have a Compton cookout party. And then there was a noose in the library. And I was actually getting my teaching credential at San Francisco State, but I was feeling very heated about a place where I was very excited to come back to, San Diego. But this put a halt to my excitement. And I posted this on my Facebook page because this applies every time when someone else is shot. And I always say systemic racism, white supremacy, it's in the air that we breathe. It's just that a whole bunch of people are not trying to smell it. So this is called Captain Invisible. And here we go. Zoom, swish. Did you see him? Hell, her too? You know, Captain Invisible, affecting you. He's climbing in your windows, he's snatching your children up, but hiding your kids will be kind of tough. Because this captain is everywhere, like the air we breathe, and making life rough. Instead of saving, Captain Invisible is stopping himself from seeing you and me on who you are and what we can be. Invisible now internalized, not easy to defeat. She makes others feel less than. This superhero is weak. Listen to me, Captain Invisible, with my covert operations. Sometimes Captain Invisible feels miserable, aggravated, not understanding why, root causes. Pointing the finger at the bad guy, brown people. Yes, making a mess, pointing the finger back at the rest. Funny, he doesn't understand the big fuss. Captain Invisible becomes Captain Obvious to the rest of us, but you. Thank you.
All right, next we have Michael. He wants to say a few words.
Good evening, y'all. When the grand jury verdict was handed down, I was, like you guys, feeling this emotion that I couldn't name. This mix of anger, frustration, complacency, even. And I didn't know how to express it, so I wrote something, and I wasn't supposed to speak on it tonight unless I felt called upon to speak it. And I'm so appreciative to you guys for allowing Black voices the chance to speak on this issue that means so much to us.
Say that.
So I'm gonna perform this. This is the first time I'm gonna perform this. So yeah, hope you like it.
Get in there. Do it.
It's called Eulogy for a 12-Year-Old Boy. His only crime was his Americanness. I get nascent, prepubescent, cursing and kicking at the faggy dust for its place beneath the sole of his Nikes. He was an all-American boy who probably preferred to be cop and not robber. The glorious cowboy, never the savage Indian who pretended to play God with a cold steel hand. But they murdered him because he forgot that he had already been born a man. He forgot that blackness had borne him with a target upon his back, a starry striped noose ever loose around his neck, and a serpentine shackle ever circling his ankles. He forgot that upon his boyish shoulders he bore the legacy of a billion black bodies whose genocide has justified their notion of supremacy. He forgot our black constitution, that bitter litany for existing in a free society. You bet not laugh too hard, nor talk too loud, nor sing too passionately, nor seem too suspicious, nor be too black for the sake of their anxiety. And that being black in your own country means learning to breathe with a suffocating hand perpetually tightening around your throat, and that for this, our every breath is an act of resistance. He was too young to appreciate the candles on a birthday cake, enumerating the wonder of his existence in spite of the scourge of white fear. I think of his mother, who rocked the fluids of his amniotic sac so that he would always remember having survived the salty waters of the Atlantic, itself a mass African grave. I see her arms still outstretching the space where her dead son's body used to exist. His every movement itself was a prayer that the brakes would never give. I'd like to think that when they sent his soul flying across that Ohio sky, that it joins hands with the ghosts of his brothers whose blood still taints the rivers of the mighty Mississippi, and that they sent him to his motherland for to rest free, because in America, broken black bodies are never allowed the dignity of resting in peace.
Right on.
And as far as his people, we have no more anger to lay before your feet, no more post-traumatic symphonies to weave to shield your conscience and validate our humanity. There will be no more race talks, no more calls for change of hearts, no more linking of arms, no more searching for compromise across your factitious lines. You people are hopeless, bereft of any sense of human kindness, compassion, or decency. You people who so willingly place your children's innocence upon the altar of fear-infected bigotry are sick for agreeing that a child is more culpable for his murder than the man who stole his life, that in less than 3 seconds a preteen's body could take the form of raging beast. No, there will be no more trying to cure you of your inherited disease, the sickness for which Tamir paid with every glowing year that was ahead of his 12-year-old life. No, there will only be the destruction of the murderous monuments that signify your great white society.
I'm going to do a time check, and I was hoping to get some visuals, but the one thing that I want to do is make sure that the Black Lives Matter banner is over the Jeremy Henwood sign, so it says Black Lives Matter Memorial Park.
Right on.
And I'm wondering if we can all get a visual with the over the OLB brigade lights with the banner over the sign. So it says Black Lives Matter Memorial Park, and it says Justice for Tamir. So we can get some visuals out that San Diego's in solidarity. If we can try to get information, and then we can possibly open it up for allies to have an open mic, so we can get that visual, because I see it's around 7:30. I do understand that it's cold. Yes, school tomorrow. So, but let's see if we can try to get together, y'all.
Follow? Did we follow?
Okay, also for those of you that want to be more involved, if you follow us, we have our Black Lives Matter San Diego Facebook page. If you want more information, you can certainly message us.